What if I told you the person you think is a failure isn't failing at life? What if the real problem is something nobody ever talks about, something that lives inside your head, runs quietly in the background and shapes every single decision you make without you ever noticing it? Today we're going into the psychology of what society calls a failed life, and I promise you by the end of this video, you will never use that phrase the same way again. Because here's the thing. The psychology behind feeling like a failure isn't what you think it is. It's not laziness, it's not weakness. It's something far, far more fascinating and far more terrifying.
Let's start with the first psychological bomb, identity fusion. Most people don't have goals, they have identities. There's a difference. A goal is something you work toward. An identity is something you believe you are. So when life doesn't go the way they planned, when the business fails, the relationship ends, the career stalls, they don't say my plan failed. They say I am a failure. Psychologists call this ego investment. You fused who you are with what you do. And the moment those results disappoint you, it doesn't just feel like a setback, it feels like an execution. Dr. Carol Dweck, the woman behind decades of mindset research at Stanford, found that people with a fixed mindset tie their self-worth entirely to outcomes. When they fail, they don't just fail at a task, they fail as a human being. And that wound runs so deep, many people never recover. But here's what's interesting. The people we look at and call failures, many of them aren't failing. They're frozen, trapped in an identity that was never truly theirs to begin with.
Here's the second psychological truth that will shake you, and it shocked me when I first read the research. Most people living what society calls a failed life are not actually living their own life. From the moment you were born, your brain was being programmed by your parents, by your culture, by your school, by social media, by every teacher who told you what success looks like. Psychologists call this the internalized script, a set of unconscious rules about what you're supposed to achieve, who you're supposed to become, by what age, in what order. Finish school, get a stable job, get married, buy a house, have kids. Your life doesn't match that script. The brain doesn't say, maybe the script is wrong. The brain says, I must be wrong. This is one of the most devastating psychological traps of modern life. You're measuring yourself against a ruler someone else handed you and wondering why you keep coming up short. The real failure isn't in your results. The real failure is in never pausing to ask, whose definition of success am I even chasing?
Now we get to the darkest part, because this is where the psychology gets really heavy. Researcher Brené Brown spent years studying shame, and she found something that stopped me in my tracks. Shame doesn't make people try harder. It makes them stop. There's a crucial difference between guilt and shame. Guilt says, I did something bad. Shame says, I am bad. And when someone believes deep in their nervous system that they are fundamentally not enough, they stop trying. Not out of laziness, out of self-protection. Why would you keep trying if every attempt just confirms what you already believe about yourself? Why would you risk one more failure if failure means one more piece of proof that you don't belong here? This is the hidden psychology behind the person who gave up on their dream, the one who drinks too much, the one who scrolls endlessly at 2 a.m. instead of sleeping. They're not failures. They're people in enormous pain, using the only tools they know to survive it. And the most tragic part? The world looks at them and says they just need to try harder, when the real answer is something entirely different.
So, what do you do with all of this? First, separate your identity from your outcomes. You are not your results. You are the person having experiences, learning things, moving through a wildly unpredictable world. That is not failure. That is being human. Second, audit the script. Sit down and ask yourself, honestly, which of your goals are truly yours and which ones were handed to you? you might be surprised how many things you're suffering over that you never actually wanted. Third, replace shame with curiosity. The next time you mess up, instead of saying, "I'm such a failure," try saying, "That's interesting. What can I learn from this?" That single shift moves you from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. Research shows it literally changes how your brain processes difficulty. And fourth, maybe most importantly, redefine what a good life means to you. Not to your parents, not to Instagram, to you. Because a life that looks like failure from the outside can be the most authentic, meaningful thing a person ever builds.
Here's what I want you to take away from today. A failed life is almost never about failing. It's about measuring yourself with the wrong ruler, in the wrong game, by someone else's rules. The moment you understand the psychology behind it, the identity traps, the invisible scripts, the shame spirals, you stop being a victim of it, and you start being the author of something real. Now, and this is the part most creators won't tell you. If this video made something shift inside you, even slightly, that feeling, that's not random. That's your brain recognizing a truth it's been holding on to for a long time. And that feeling is exactly why subscribing matters. Because every week, we go deeper into the psychology of how human beings actually work, not the motivational poster version, the real, uncomfortable, fascinating version. So if you want more of this, hit subscribe and leave a comment below. What part of your life have you been measuring with someone else's ruler? I read every single one. I'll see you in the next one.